Where my girls at? Where my girls at? Independent, free spirit. Ooh, it's something serious. Where my girls at? We ain't linked up in a cool minute. Where my girls at? It's going down, down. Where my girls at? It's going down, down. It's going down tonight. We going out tonight. Yeah, right. We going out tonight. It's going down tonight. Yeah, right. It's going down tonight. We going out tonight. Yeah, right. We going out tonight. It's going down tonight. Yeah, right.
Hello, hello, hello. We are here, you guys. We are here. Where my girls at? It's going down. We are here. Sabrina, Caterina, Crisette, and Gloria. Thank you, tribe, for being here. It is Thursday, and we are here. We are talking survival of the
We linked up in a cool minute. Actually, it didn't link up in a cool minute. It's been a while since we've been together. This is 9:10 a.m. the Superstation-WFDF out of Detroit. Yet we're touching lives all over the world. This is the Force of Friendship. And we are at We Got Issues. We got issues. I tell you, that name is so good because I got issues. You got issues. We all got issues. New York's got issues. Louisiana got issues. Y'all, China got issues. I heard that they have something for video addicts. Y'all, video addicts. People who are addicted to video games. They go to video rehab. Did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that they have video rehab for people in
Not surprised.
China? I mean, for real. This is so...
I'm not surprised.
They locked it down. They said you can't do any video gaming all week. Period. No kids. They have all these like Starbucks huddles. They're all closed. And you could only be on video games 1 hour a day during the weekdays. Weekend during the weekend. So 1 hour on Saturday, 1 hour on Sunday. They said no industry will grab a generation of our people.
I love it. I love it. We need
the
that
whole
USA.
country did this.
We love it.
Gloria,
I love it.
The country did this.
The government said that's it. Nothing. I mean, y'all, really, we can go into some conversations. We're gonna bring that topic back up, but we're talking about single parenting and the survival of the single parent. And I was a single parent, and they've all related to single parents, so we're very excited about that. But you know how we do on We Got Issues. We cover news. You know how I do. I send out the news for somebody else to read it. Because if I read it, it's going to be a hot mess. So I'm not going to read any news. But I'm going to lean in on the news. For our girlfriends, if you know somebody who's a single parent, we want you to call in. If you've ever been a single parent, we want you to call in. And we want to share. Now, before we go to all the other girlfriends, I want to tell you guys, seriously, I want each of y'all to hear me when I tell you, I've been thinking about this. I've been thinking, what a privilege we've had to have a talk radio show. What a privilege we have had to have a talk radio show. It has really been something that we've worked hard on, but the education that each of us have received, all of us are so much more sensitive. Our tribe is bigger, and we wanted to thank our tribe for really leaning in and following with us and giving us good input and giving us good energy to keep this talk radio going. You know, always in our life, we've looked up and like, did you know that was coming down? Like if you had asked us a year ago if we were going to be on talk radio every day, Monday through Friday from 6 to 7 p.m., we would have looked at you like, are you nuts? Are you absolutely nuts?
Every day.
What? Oh no, I don't have time to sign my shoe, let alone my shoes, But now we're so into it. And you guys, we love delivering the light, the love, the lesson, and the laughter for sure. And now, did y'all hear our new commercial? OMG, 9:10 a.m. the Superstation made us a new commercial, and they didn't even tell us. I was like, oh, that's a new way to say it. So like Chris said in the commercial, it's not just luck, it's blessed. We are having blessed days. So Chris, what's going on? What's going on down there, Crisette in Detroit?
Hey, everybody. It's a beautiful day in the D. You know what? It's a little cool out now in the 70s. So I don't know if that is starting our fall weather, but that's one of the things that I absolutely love about Michigan is that we get all the seasons. So Sabrina, get excited. You're moving to Ohio. You about to get all the seasons. So you know what? I don't know what you did with your fur coat, okay? But you better pull it out of storage, because trust me when I tell you, you're gonna need it. You're gonna need it where you're going, my friend. But yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful day here in the D. And you guys, today, just kind of listening to the news, we were talking about Hurricane Ida and all the devastation that took place in Louisiana, and now it's still causing even more devastation on the Northeast and in areas in New Jersey. And they were just saying right now, 45 people have died, 23, I believe, in the New Jersey area. I mean, that's so sad. Wow. And a lot of it from drowning. I can't imagine, I was trying to think in my mind the last time. I know we had a lot of rain. You guys have heard me tease about, seeing the ark float down our street because we had so much rain this season. But I can't remember. I remember having some flooding in the basement, but nothing that was just where, you had to go to a different level. I was talking to Kiera, my daughter, and I was saying, if a flood hit us, where would we go? And some people were found in the basement. And I was kind of thinking, to me, that would be the last place you would go, would be to the basement. You would want to go to a higher level. Some people were found in their car. So we really want to keep Louisiana and all of those who are affected by Hurricane Ida in our prayers and thoughts, because a lot of these people are without electricity. And I mean, so many things, you guys, when you hear about this devastation, we take so much for granted sometimes. And like, we say all the time, when you wake up, is always a reason to be grateful and thankful. And so, that's probably the biggest piece of news that, kind of hit me heavy on today. So just want to keep those people in our prayer. So I'm going to send it over to Sabrina Goodwin. What's up, Monday?
Oh my goodness. Just listening to you, Chris, talk about the floods. We've got the drought on the West Coast. We've got the floods on the East Coast. We've got a global pandemic. And we still just need to continue to be very prayerful. I think it's like up to 47 deaths. That rain came in so quick on that East Coast. Honestly, I was telling Caterina earlier, I went into a meeting and that was not the news. And I came out and the news was all this water. And so, of course, I've got a daughter and a son in New Jersey, New York area. I immediately called them. Where are you? How are you? What's going on? And they were both fine. I touched base with my girlfriend, Alicia, who's a loyal listener. She's on here today. I said, how are you doing? She's right there in the New Jersey area. She said a lot of water, but no major damage to the house, but lots of damage around. And so it's just something. I mean, that water came from nowhere. And I don't think anybody, I mean, right now we have more deaths on that eastern quarter than we have in Louisiana. Which is just because Louisiana. Go ahead, Gloria. No,
I was just going to say that they said it was the most rain in 500 years. That
500?
500 years since before we were the United States of America. They have not had that much rain in New York that fast ever.
But there's no climate change.
First they were saying in the
there's no climate change.
Huh?
I said, but there's no climate change.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So that was when I heard that, I was like, more rain than 500 years. So you're right. I woke up, people's like, are you okay? I said, yeah, we're okay. But there was a tornado that touched down in Maryland. We don't ever have tornadoes. And it took out Annapolis, which is our state capital.
Yeah, and it takes my sister. We should have my sister on because she's promised that some of this stuff is manufactured. Some of this stuff is man-made. She's like, Sabrina. Really? Yeah. So we have to have her on and her perspective one day. Huh?
Is that one of the conspiracy theories?
We have to let her come on. She makes a lot of sense. So, Caterina.
Yeah, the science.
What you
of
up
it,
to, Caterina?
Well, y'all know Helen, so I immediately called Helen in New York, and while she jumped on a Zoom with me, she was just hanging up from a woman whose girlfriend is now deceased. She just went over to a friend's house, spent the night, and was in the basement, and she passed away. She was talking to her sister.
It was Helen's friend?
It was Helen's friend's sister.
Wow.
So just unbelievable. And then earlier today, someone called who was a friend of mine who works with my cousin and was taking care of my cousin after his surgery, just supporting him as he's gone back to work, and just slipped out and said, have you spoken to our girlfriend? And she told me that the last I saw her, she was on a serious weight loss journey, was working out at the gym, was hitting it. And now I'm realizing I haven't seen her on social media. She's been in the hospital that is 5 miles from me for a month. Now induced coma on a ventilator for 1 solid month.
From the COVID?
Wow.
From COVID. Not vaccinated.
For a month? Not vaccinated.
Not vaccinated.
Wow.
She was not opposed to the vaccine. She just had not gotten vaccinated yet.
Okay, so I had a conversation with a woman who used to work with me for a long time. I called her, wished her happy birthday, 74 years old. You know, she had COVID. We knew she had COVID. She was struggling since she came out of the hospital with COVID. And her granddaughter, I know her well, so I knew she was in the background. So I yelled out her name and said, "Are you vaccinated?" "No." I said, "Your grandmother can hardly breathe, and you're not vaccinated." "Not yet." I said, "So when are you gonna get it?" "I don't know." I said, "Well, I'm holding on while you go right now and go to the drugstore and get some vaccination, because it's ridiculous." And the same thing, my friend who I called, same situation. I was gonna get it, but I just hadn't done it yet. And she's had, her lungs are really bad. She has to go walking every day. And every day she goes walking, they're trying to get her better. I talked another friend of mine, he has to plank every day to get oxygen into his body. He has to, his therapy is plank every day. So he gets oxygen deposited in his body. It is crazy.
Hey, Gloria, you got a lot of friends that's on the fence. What's up on that?
I know. That's because y'all don't talk about your friends on the fence.
Sabrina,
like all my friends on the fence. Y'all know plenty of people. Katrina's friend 5 minutes from my house. Okay, so
that's true. I
Sabrina,
I got a lot of family members. Let's be clear. It ain't just friends, it's family members that I'm telling you, went to the wedding and it was warm up in there. And Chuck talked about, this is a petri dish for COVID, right? A petri dish. And it's a lot of them. You ask them, are they vaccinated? And they look at you side-eyed and they're saying no, and again, you ask, well, what are you waiting on? I don't know. Who said I'm being messy?
Yeah,
I don't know what you're waiting
being
on.
messy.
You know
she being
Sabrina.
messy. You the first lady. Yes.
Sabrina has
we're gonna blame that on Chuck. We're gonna blame it on Chuck because that was funny. A petri dish. That sad but funny. Sad but true.
Gloria. Sabrina, there was an issue that came up. Sabrina, I don't know if you want to bring it up. It'd be great to ask the audience how they would handle that situation. What happens in the situation of a husband and wife who don't agree?
All right.
One
is vaccinated and one is not.
Yeah. That would have to create some major friction in the house, right? Really.
Somebody like that? You know a couple like that?
Yeah. Some of our listeners, one of our audience members, wanted to ask for advice from our show yesterday. How do you work through that? That's a very serious issue. And I'm sure that some of our listeners right now, 9 a.m. the Superstation, somebody's in the house vaccinated, somebody's not. And so what do you do? What can you do with that? It would be a problem.
A house divided. Do you still stay in the same room? Does one go in a different room? Do you just, the person that's vaccinated, it's probably safer for them because, again, we know as a vaccinated person, you can still carry the virus and still give it to other people. So, just the other day, my dad again is going to Canada. So I had to sign him up and go get another COVID test. So he's been in Canada twice. Well, he's going this weekend again. And I mean, I had to swab him and do the whole 9 yards. And, thankfully it came back negative. But, when you're out and about, even as a vaccinated person, at this point, I'm still thinking, periodically, I'm going to go get myself checked.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Or
Wow.
that would be
That's
a good
deep.
thing to ask the spouse to be tested. You can get those at-home tests and, say minimally, will you get tested regularly?
Well, this is what I want to say. I'm so glad somebody asked you for advice, Sabrina, because we have a lot of advice. That's why we're good on this talk show. And first thing I would tell that couple is they got issues. So they called the right place because that's some issues for real. I mean, that's the deep core. And the ability to work through that is why some marriages sustain 25 and 30 years, because that's just an example of things that we've done before, that we've had issues. And we talked about marriages yesterday. That was interesting. Let's go to the callers really quickly. Let's go to the callers. Let's see. We have Marathon. Marathon, are you with us today? We're doing great. What's happening?
Yeah, just listening to the show. Like I said, I had 2 vaccines, but I'm not doing booster. I'm just going to continue my ginger root tea and my vitamin D.
Why are you not going to get a booster?
Because I'm not a guinea pig.
Oh, so you need to go back and listen to the show we had like 3 or 4 days
Right.
ago. Because you're not a guinea pig. But
Hey, Marathon, if you had the first two,
what difference is it going to make for you to get the third one?
Well, see, when I walked out of the hospital back in 2020, all they gave me was a pat on the back in the hospital and said, good luck. So I took things into my own hands.
Why, did you have COVID, Marathon?
Yes.
Then you know. Okay, well, Marathon, stay close to us, because that's going to be a whole nother conversation. You got the vaccination, but you don't want to get the booster. And there's going to be a whole nother, right as we get into October, November, it's going to be a whole nother conversation about that. So we thank you for calling in. We definitely don't want you to be a guinea pig, but we definitely want you to be around and talk about it, because what would we do if you couldn't call in, Marathon? What would we do? What would we do for real? Thank you, Marathon. We appreciate you. Rick, you're calling in. We got issues. Rick, what you going to say on We Got Issues?
Good afternoon. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. I wasn't going to get the vaccine, but I went to my doctor back in February. He told me, he said, hey, you got 2 choices. You're going to get either the vaccine or the virus. Which one you want?
Wow.
I chose to get the vaccine. And just a quick story. I had my favorite cousin. I mean, I love her so much. She didn't want to get the vaccine, but her mother, who was 95, and her auntie, who was 96, who she was taking care of, got the vaccine. And then I think her grandkids or somebody came in and gave it to her daughter, and the daughter gave it to her. Both the daughters was okay, grandkids are all right, but it killed her. So, what family? I've lost 2 aunts, an uncle, many friends to this virus. And I tell everybody I can, get the vaccine. I mean, I know a lot of people pass away from the virus, but I don't know if too many people pass away from the vaccine. So,
Right.
That's good.
That's real good.
You got 200 years of research with the vaccine, and you only got 25 minutes on Facebook, but yet you know not to get it. Okay, all right, let's take sense of that. All right.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Right. Yeah, thank you so much, Rick. That is a very positive. You want the virus or you want the vaccine? Wow. I've never heard of that. Right. I've never heard it put quite like that. Let's real quick, maybe before the break. Buck, are you there with us? We got issues. You called in the 9:10 a.m. the Superstation. Buck, what you got for us? Can you hear us, Buck?
Oh, yeah, hello?
We're here.
I'm sorry. All right. 27, okay. Hey, my bad. I'm doing this delivery, but I was listening to y'all show. And I just wanted to say this. I'm not no conspiracy theorist or nothing like that, but it's something going on. And it's just something going on. And And I'm going to tell you why I feel like there's something going on. There was a president in Tanzania named Magufuli, okay? I don't know if y'all know about it. I don't know whoever's keeping up with it, right? He refused to get that vaccination. But there's a lot of stuff he was refusing to do as well. He was refusing to shut his country down. He was refusing to go along with this COVID-19 all around the globe somehow, type of stuff. And you know, they killed that man. They assassinated that man. You know what his predecessor did the first day she got in office? Took that shot. You understand what I'm saying? Took that shot. Listen, there's something bigger than just this vaccine going on. See, this is something bigger than just this COVID-19 stuff. It's a global economic meltdown that they're covering up with this vaccine, with this COVID-19. You know, if anybody out there following me, you know what I'm saying? They're destroying nations to build this global nation. You understand what I'm saying? But before they can build this global nation, they have to destroy all smaller nations. You understand? I hope somebody out there understands what I'm saying. But I say get the vaccine if you choose to get it. I don't think it should be forced upon us like they're fortunate on us. Not the government, because the government know people will revolt from them fortunate on us. They making corporations fortunate on us. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, but
you can't come. Huh?
We have to go to a commercial. You can hang on if you want to, because what you're bringing to life is a big deal. It's a very big deal. We got to go pay some bills at this commercial break. Oh, we thank you for calling.
Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back after this commercial break. Can't wait. Can't wait. Single parents, the survival.
Wow, wow, wow. Here we are, you guys. Thank you so much for joining 9:10 a.m. The Superstation with the girlfriends. WFDF. Hey, tribe, how are you? Well, you know, it's always a big issue. Vaccine or virus. It's a choice. House is divided. Some want it, some crying to beg their relatives to get it. Some are totally refusing to get it. I mean, I hadn't heard it put that way. You got two choices. The doctor told this man, you got two choices. Take the vaccine or get the virus. The vaccine, you could possibly get the virus, but you're not going to get as sick. Like he said, we know people who've died from the virus, but not the vaccine. So, my friends, today we're talking single parenting, surviving, thriving as a single parent. We've got a lot of tips. Gloria has been the only one of us who's been a single parent. We watched her manage it. We watched her navigate through those waters. Salute to all the single parents out there. You are amazing. You really are. When I tell you, it's a job to raise children. It's a job to do life by yourself. But you guys are doing a phenomenal job. And we just want to take our hats off to you. Give yourself a pat on the back. Don't be so hard on yourself. Let's give credit where credit's due. So many of the households are run by single parents. And so some of the most successful children have come from single parent households. So again, we salute you. You guys, thank you. Give us topics, you know, coming up with topics every day, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. We always want to know what's on your mind. We want to talk to you about what you want to talk about. So type in the chat some good ideas, some thoughts. Maybe you know somebody who's an author, a poet, a designer. We love to interview them on the show, invite them in. So we thank you guys for being on the show, for sure. Tuning in. All right, we're going to go back in just a minute. Going back.
Well, I'm excited. That was our new Okay, Kevin, we got you. We got you. Oh, red bottoms, red bottoms. Those shoes hurt. I don't care what nobody says. Yes, yes. All righty. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. Listen, I think that Buck is still here. Buck, are you still with us? He must have had to make that delivery. He must have had to make that delivery to the food person. He had to make the delivery to. However, you guys, he did bring home a very interesting issue, because we talk about this all the time, how economics drives almost everything. Economics drives everything. So it's a conspiracy issue, but he's bringing across a very interesting point. Anybody want to say anything to that? Add that at all?
I mean, it's definitely something to look into.
Chris?
You're muted, Chris.
It's definitely something that bears looking into. And one of the things that I've said, and I know I've been guilty of, early on in the pandemic, passing videos and different things that people were saying about different things because it sounds so credible. But I think in today's day and time, it is so paramount that we vet everything that we read. And so I am very careful not to send out, because I know I've had to retract stuff that I've sent out and come to find out it's false, it's not true. It was sent out 5 years ago and people send it to you as if it's happening today. So it sounded really, really good. Very interesting what he was saying, but I would definitely say it's something to look into, get all the facts before making a comment or saying that's exactly what's going on. Because sometimes, if you don't vet things, people can say anything.
Right.
And a lot of people didn't get vaccinated because they saw all of these crazy videos that were on Facebook.
Right. Exactly. Okay. So Buck is there. Buck, did you want to finish your last comment before we had to go to commercial?
Just wanted to say this. Look at who benefited from the COVID-19, and then it starts to show you more of who could have contributed to the spread of the COVID-19. You know what I'm saying? Look at who benefited, the pharmaceutical companies, right? All this lot with the money. And then you said something so important. Don't never take what other people say. You take what they say and go do some research on your own. You know what I'm saying? So much information out here at our hands. Just do your research. Like, I hope I spark somebody's vision to go say, someone look into this global.
Right.
How did they benefit? How did the pharmaceutical company benefit? How are these bankers and these big economic hitmen is really what they are? Hey, look up economic hitmen. You'll learn a lot about what's running this world and what they do and why they do what they do. But I believe that COVID was put out here intentionally. Not only, I'm not going to be the big conspiracy theorist on public control, population control, but I think it is a part. Okay, stop playing. You got to see the whole bigger picture of things. But I do believe it was an economic downfall coming globally, and they wanted to placate it. They didn't want it to just happen, but the COVID-19 just gave them a perfect opportunity to diminish all these economies and then bring all these economies under one umbrella. Like, I know it sounds conspiracy theories, but like I said, y'all do some research, look up for yourself. Hopefully I'll tell somebody out there that's going to start looking it up. Thank you so much. I'm about to go finish the delivery. They waiting on me. I love talking with you guys. And
Thank you, Buck.
I'm going to get on out of here. All right.
All right. Thanks for calling in. We like to have some issues. And since the four of us don't do too much to contradict each other, we love it when people call in and give us another look at life. So, Buck, we appreciate you coming. And I know those people are waiting for their food. I have to say this before we go to single parenting. Y'all, Grambling State Marching Band, which is a huge
band at HBCU, added the first female drum major since 1952. I know. So it's the year of the women. 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 And while we're talking about the year of the women, let's talk a little bit about single parenting, the survival of single parenting. First, I want to give you some thoughts and some advice. And if you guys know some single parents, you might want to call in or give us some thoughts on this. But let me tell you about some of the assumptions that are made about single parenting, because it is a big, big deal out here. Single parents by the numbers. It says that there are approximately 13.6 million single parents in the United States today. And those parents are responsible for raising, listen to this, 22.4 million children. And this number is 27% of the children under 21 years old. So that says 27% of the children under 21 are being raised by a single parent. That's sort of interesting, because honestly, I thought it was more. Did you think it was more or less? What y'all think?
More. I thought more.
Right.
Me too.
Right. Yeah.
I thought
Totally
more.
thought it was
And
more.
then if you correct it, It's more, I believe it's more, and definitely among African American women.
Yeah.
It's more.
Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay. It says another assumption. The line says she's a single parent. The presumption that most single parents are mothers is accurate. According to the census, 80.4% of the parents are mothers. 80% are mothers. 19% are men. Now, I thought that was high for men. I didn't think 20% of the single parenting was done by men. It said the assumption that most single parents are single from the onset is false. Of the custodial parents, 1% are widowed, 15% were married at one time, and then they got remarried. 40% are divorced, and 42% were never married. 42% were never married. And then another assumption about single moms is that most are unemployed. Again, that is not true. Statistics show that 50% of the custodial parents are gainfully employed. 19% don't have jobs. They said that there's an assumption that single parents, they live below the poverty line. That's not true either. The most of them do not live below the poverty line. 16% of the fathers and their children live in poverty. 29% of single mothers and their children live in poverty, but not most. But again, in Black families, it's going to be very different, very different. She does not receive public assistance. 30% of the fathers receive some type of government assistance. 36% receive supplemental nutritional assistance, and 48% of the mothers have government assistance. She's 40 years or older. Most are young, is the assumption. Most are young. The data shows that 40% of the mothers are 40 or over. Isn't that interesting? I thought that was it. And yeah, very interesting, right? And finally, one assumption is mothers mostly are raising multiple children. 46% have 2 or more children. 55% are raising 1. So it's a strong mixture. It's a strong mixture there. So it's really interesting what's going on in the single parenting. And then they went on and talked about some tips. But, you know, when you guys think back when you were coming up, were there single parents that you knew? Did you all know any single parents when you guys were coming up?
Yes, I did.
Yes. Tell her
I
story.
did, yeah.
You know her story, Sabrina? What was her story or his story?
Well, this was one of my mother's best friends, and she was a single parent, a beautiful woman. You know, it's interesting. And she had one daughter, and they were really close. But I never knew a lot about the father of her child. But we didn't, it was just, she didn't have a dad around. So it wasn't a lot of single parent households that I grew up with, but that was one, and she was one of my mother's best friends. Yep.
Wow. Okay. That's awesome. That's very,
Gloria,
very interesting. What are your mother's best? Go ahead.
Gloria, and I think that you, among us, you're the only one who was a single parent, and I believe I'm the only one who was raised by a single parent. I specifically remember, and we just rode past the house the other day.
I believe I'm the only one who was raised.
I specifically remember 2 things. I remember our standard of living changing dramatically. I mean, I remember that one time we could do this my whole life, and then all of a sudden it was like we downsized, and we went into a different economic situation. I distinctly remember that I was 15 and how it started shaping me, and it caused me to go into a cocoon. And the second thing, y'all know, as close as I am to my dad, I had a hard time remembering ever being with my father after my parents got divorced. Like, somebody else said that you block certain things out. And I literally said to my mom, I only remember my high school graduation, but I don't remember any other time with my dad. And I know I had time, but I don't remember it. Like, I only remember when my parents were married, but I must
That's interesting,
stuff out. And I just realized that based on a show we did. I think I really blocked out some.
Katrina, how old were you?
Remember him? Go ahead.
Like after college, like once I was in college, but that 15, 16, 17, 18, I don't remember being with my dad. It's just
how old were you when they divorced? How old were you when they
15,
divorced?
15.
Oh, well, Caterina, I was in the 9th grade. My parents got divorced in the 9th grade. I was 14.
Oh, okay.
And you,
yeah.
okay. Did you spend a
So
lot
you
of time
remember
with
everything?
Yeah.
Everything.
Wow. Well, that's a different
you
twist
know-
on this. We can talk about being raised
Right.
by a single parent. That's good. What'd you say, Chris?
No, I was getting ready to say that's just really interesting. Sabrina, you remember your, everything when your parents got divorced, and Caterina doesn't, but we all know how close Caterina was to her dad. And maybe that's the reason why, it was maybe just such a shock to you, that your parents split up. But that's very interesting.
That's very interesting. We're going to come back to that, but we have a caller. Kentise. Kentise, are you there?
Ma'am, I'm here. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so glad
you called into. We got issues 9, 10 a.m. the Superstation. How are you today? I'm doing pretty good. Good. What are your thoughts? Well, I was a single mother for a long time. Yes. But I was a working single mother. I raised 7 children. And wow. Yes, take on my granddaughter who was autistic, and it wasn't easy. But people don't know is I didn't get government assistance. I had to work and pay all the bills and everything else. Didn't get child support. And, but I did it. My children are grown now, but, it was a very hard task. And a lot of the resources that they had back then, they don't have those resources now. Okay, less resources now. There's less resources. Even the government funding is cut. They cut the WIC programs depending on which state you live in. Yeah, that was a free service for mothers and babies and milk and things like that. They closed the doors to some of those, and it's just less fortunate for those who have to bring children up now, because back then it benefited me as a young mother for WIC. But as far as working, I didn't get public aid like food stamps and cash assistance. I had to work. Right. Kentise, when you think about this, go ahead. We're going to say something. I was just going to ask Kentise. Kentise, thank you so much for calling in. I personally know Kentise. I know her children, and I know, the amazing job that she has done. But a question that I have is, being a single parent for so many years, how would you say that affected your children, especially because, their father was not in the household? Okay, it's rough because my sons, I have 4 boys and 3 girls, but my sons couldn't identify with me. I'm the woman, so I'm the female dominant. So my daughters could, but my sons, they struggled. They didn't know who to identify with. So identification for being a young man trying to grow up and looking at all female in the house, it was hard for them. And then as they got older, they told me, certain things that I'd done, I wasn't fear with, and I didn't see it as not being fear, but it was hard. So, it was hard for them to even figure out, which way to go for them in life. We had positive male images in the church of my leader, my pastor, but, in the home, it was hard. And then trying to raise boys, it was rough. Right. Kentise, tell us this, because we have a lot of people listening, and you are a phenomenal example of someone who did it, worked, 7 children. 7 children. My question to you is this. Given that you've gone through that and you can look back on hindsight now, what was the biggest gift that came from that situation? I was able to raise them all together in the church. I was able to raise them together and love them the best way I could. Right. It was just, that was my greatest joy to all see them all graduate high school. You know what I mean? They weren't perfect, but just to see them get to that point, because you think 7 kids, oh my God, but they all. That's what I was thinking, Caterina. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking that. I was thinking 7 kids. Oh my God, I was thinking that. Yeah. Go ahead. Yes, but they did it. And my son's a carpenter. My daughter's in nursing. My daughter's a police officer in the military. My one daughter is married and everything else. And my son, he works at a plant. So You know, different strokes for different folks. It's not easy. Do they make perfect choices? No. Did I make the right choices? No. But I was able, and I'll just say this, I was thankful that I was able to go to positive women in my life, like my first lady and Crisette, and just positive women of influence that I knew that were living a healthy balance in their home, that I would ask them, hey, did you mentor me? You know, I was bold enough to ask for help. Because I didn't want to keep making the same mistakes.
Right. So, you know, you gave us a couple of pieces of advice right there, but if you had to pick your top 3 pieces, because one of the things I'm going to talk about is the advice. But what are the top 3 things, Catrice, that you would say if someone was looking at you and saying, I'm going to be a single parent of some children? What's the advice you would give them?
The first advice is don't give up. The second advice is don't look at somebody else's family, because everybody else got their own issues. And the third advice is, you know, it should have been first, but always pray. You know, pray about everything, because without God, for me, without him, like, I would have been more lost. I would have made more wrong choices. So those 3 to me, you know, because when I was single, I was looking at other people and I had to think I had to be like them and live the Joneses and buy my kids what they had and this and that. But it's not like that. You can afford, I can only afford what I could.
Right. Wow, Catrice, that was excellent. Thank you so much for calling in. And we want you to know we are so proud of you. We're so proud of you. We can't wait to meet you. I know you know Chris, but you need to meet the rest of the girlfriends. Okay, you need to meet the rest of the girlfriends. We're going to open up the tribe. And when we do get to a place where everybody is vaccinated and we get to travel, we'd like to see you and meet you, because we are celebrating you today. Celebrating you. Thank you for calling in. Thank you so much for having me on. You have a good day. Absolutely. Thank you so much. You know, I want to talk
Caterina to talk about what it was like on that side to go from being in a 2-parent home to being in a single parent. For what you can remember back then, what was some of the things that made a difference for you? What did your parents do well that you could help other people understand that made such a difference?
Well, for me, y'all have heard me talk about it. I grew up in such a white environment. And when my parents got married, when we really started, when my parents got divorced is when we really found what was my first home church. I don't remember, we went to church occasionally as I was growing up, but I really got close to the Lord directly as a result of that. And some of my best times of that spiritual growth happened. That was just huge. My mother was instrumental. I could see how that was carrying her through. I could just literally see that. And it blew my mind how much we never wanted for anything on less money. Just shout out to the mamas who know how to stretch some dollars and make some stuff happen. And, my room was still pretty and I still had clothes and I still had a car. And it just, we didn't want for anything, but I could tell we had less than we had before, but it just is amazing how God sustained us, So
that's good.
Huge.
That's good.
How about for you,
Yeah.
Sabrina?
Yeah, you know what, you guys, I grew up with an alcoholic father. Most brilliant man, most loving man, incredible man, but he was an alcoholic. He was a functional alcoholic, sometimes more functional than others. But honestly, when my mother was brave enough we wanted her to get a divorce. It was like, Mom, I think she wanted to keep the family together as best she could, but we gave her permission. We said, Mom, it's not working. You're okay. We'll be fine. And she finally had the courage enough to say, okay. And my dad continued to be a great friend. He was still always around, but it just wasn't working with him in the home. But our lifestyle didn't change that much. It really didn't. And so that was a blessing. We still were able to do everything that we did with a dad in the home. And my mother made sure that we were still dressed a certain way. We still were in extracurricular activities. And so shout out to those single moms who continue to hold it together, and the dads who are single dads who are out there holding it together. Because there are a lot of dads out there who have picked up, the family and said, you know what, I'll handle it. So that was our story. That was our story.
I have a question for Sabrina. I think, that is so interesting. And you know what? Stay on this show long enough, you'll find out some things about your friends that you never knew.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Exactly.
That's what I was thinking, Chris.
Right.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
But what I wanted to ask you, Sabrina, is the fact that a lot of times you hear the devastation that children go through when their parents get divorced, and sometimes especially when they're younger, they can believe that the parents are divorcing because of them, and it's so important that children know you're not divorcing because of them, but it's because of the issues that the spouses are having with each other. But I just found it real interesting that you all gave your mother permission to get the divorce. And I think, and you tell us, does that make it different from the standpoint of you didn't feel it was you, it was just the two of them, and did you look at your dad any differently because of that?
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, we just knew that dad had issues and he needed to see about those issues. It was being detrimental to our family lifestyle. And so it was just important that we did what we did as a family then. And so I just believe that I think, Chris, when you said, did I look at him any differently? No, I really didn't. And I think it's important that children, maybe we were old enough. We were in high school.
Okay.
I was in the 9th grade. I think Regina was in the 8th grade. And so we were old enough to understand maybe when you're babies, you feel a different way, that your daddy's not in the house. But I remember being relieved. When Mama said she was getting divorced, I was like, oh, yay. Okay. I was. I mean, that didn't take nothing away from the love of my daddy, but we needed peace in the house. We needed to know what was happening. And we were still really good friends. And my mother was such a phenomenal woman. She never talked bad about my daddy. She never said a negative word. And I think that was so important that she said, you guys will get old enough to formulate your own opinions. But she never said a negative word about him.
That's powerful.
That's important.
That's powerful.
Yeah, that's so deep.
The other thing, I was going to say, the other thing I observed, and Sabrina, you can correct, is I didn't have community. After the divorce, I had community, and my dad didn't stay in the same place. He moved to North Carolina. So in terms of relationship with him, I mean, no one had ever lived outside of California. But Sabrina, just what I know about you, the community, your village, you had a strong village, and I didn't have that. Once we got in that Black church, that is when we started developing our village. I didn't have a village before, and that village made a difference. Wouldn't you agree?
For sure. And I think that's important because sometimes when there's a divorce, the families divide, they split. You don't even talk to that other side of the family. Honestly, I mean, you wouldn't even know there was a divorce in that side of the family because we were still very, very close. Like my mother, one of her best friends was my dad's sister. And so the families were still very much close in contact. Yeah. So the community was strong and always remained intact.
That's when I became a single parent, and I came from a family where that wasn't the norm. Single parent wasn't what was happening. So I was very unfamiliar with that. But I can totally relate to what Caterina said when she said that, things change, choices change, your economic situation can change. So everybody kept telling me that was going to be the situation. And I think that's what fired me up so much to work as hard as I did, was I was just determined not to have him be able to be the one that grabbed my air from me. I just refused to let him to do that. So I would just, fiercely continue to protect for my kids and increase the income, because it was a shock to the system. It was a shock to the family. It was a shock to his family. It was a shock to the system that I would really leave, because we were such a, keep it together kind of family. So.
Right, because Gloria, you guys were the family with the white picket fence, the one dog, 1.5 dog, the two beautiful children, Harvard MBAs. And so I know you say that when your marital status changes, sometimes your circle of friends changes. How was that? How was that for you guys, Gloria? Did you see people like when you guys were couples of friends? Did that change your friendships?
Yeah, that's a great question, Sabrina, because There was some of that, but because the relationship was bad, and I think I stayed in the marriage too long. You know, he had his friends and I had my friends, because when we were together, it was fireworks. So, you know, you don't like to be around couples that are in fireworks. You know, you don't like to be around couples who, when you go to dinner with them, they're looking at each other like, I don't want to be here with you and you don't want to be here with me. You don't like to go to dinner with them. So I started developing my network, my community, like you said, Caterina, my community. I was big in the church. He was not, you know, and so it got divided in several different fronts. My best friends knew what was going on. They were very protective for me. So it was like, no. So that was a big part of how that didn't work. That was a big part of how that really made a difference. Seriously made a difference. I have some ideas on what it will take to some advantages. So if you have some friends that are single parents, hold on one second, guys. Can you hear me?
Yep. Not yet. I know we're coming back.
Yeah. And while Gloria's coming back, guys, I think it's important for single parents to ask for help. That community is real important. There's a lot of resources in the church. There are a lot of resources in neighborhood communities. Your relatives are willing to help. I know from my girlfriends who are single parents, I always say, what can I do? Bring the kids over here. Let me come get the kids. I mean, I always am constantly very sensitive, because it's hard work being a parent with two parents in the household, but let alone one, it's a lot that they have to do. And so I just think if you're a friend of single parents, to reach out, ask, how can you help?
I think that is so critical, so critical. And you know what? They're around us all the time. And because they look fabulous and because they look like they got it all together, and because they don't want to ask for help, we think everything is okay. But you know, a night out makes a difference. A night in, taking their kids so that they can stay in makes a big difference. And taking the girls over here, taking the boys over there makes such a difference. There's so many things that you can do to help them. Let me give you a couple of pieces of advice that people have said, and then we can go back to conversation. They said one of the things is that you got to get control of your finances. If you're a single parent, you got to get control of your finances. And I'm telling you guys a secret. I'm one person who can make money, but I'm not necessarily the one that manages it. So when I became a single parent, I was like, okay, I'm not good at this. So I searched around, and you know, my philosophy is I always tell somebody what you're looking for. So I found this woman who could really take my finances. She took all my finances, all my bills, everything. She put all together, and then she came back and met with me. And I remember exactly where I was sitting in the moment when she said, okay, you're going to be great, except you can't go to the movies anymore. You can't go to the dry cleaners anymore. You can't eat out anymore. It was about that time I think I died and came back. You know, I was like, I can't go to the movies. But she was a fiend about it. And you guys, that's how I know that if you don't know how to budget, find someone who can help you budget, because it can totally turn your life around when you're accountable to someone else about your money, because money and lack thereof is a very stressful situation. So they said, start a budget, keep it updated. Put your bills on auto pay. Take advantage of the tax breaks and government programs. And here's a big one for single parents. Learn to say no. I mean, this is something that everybody can say. Learn to say no. You cannot buy everything your kids want, but it doesn't matter if you're a single parent or not a single parent. You can't look at somebody else's home. That's going to be a problem. Listen to this, Sabrina. You had said this. Join up with other single parents. I would join up with other single parents and other married parents. I would babysit their kids. They would babysit my kids. I mean, it's something to really understand what a break it is to have 2 hours by yourself where you're not worried. It really does make a difference. Try a sleepover exchange. Start or join a carpool. Rely on close family members. And Caterina, you brought that up. You know, when you have family members or when you don't have family members, you have to create a community or you have to sustain a community. It makes a big difference. It says get organized to save your headaches. Get on a daily routine. One day, y'all, we got to do that minimalist show, because she said get on a daily routine and stick with it. Try to create a mealtime list system. Now, that's where I would go crazy. Mealtime was hard for me because I don't like to cook. So Good thing my girlfriend who lived 2 doors down from me, she was a great cook. We ate at her house all the time. She always had way too much food. And my kids were like, when are we going over Aunt Jackie's? I'm like, right now would be good. Use online tools to keep track of everything. Join support groups that are good for single parent, meetups for single moms. Check out your local Facebook groups for mom. You guys, I went on and I looked at podcasting. There's about 85 different podcasts. 85,000, what I want to say, podcasting for single parents. It's really
Wow.
big deal. Yeah, it's a big deal out here. It's a big deal. When you hear those statistics, 46% are single parent. There's a lot of help. And you guys, if you're out there listening and you have some comments, please call in to the station 910 AM, the Superstation, at 313-778-7600. I'm going to give you a couple more. Assign chores to your kids. Now, when I read that, assign chores to your kids, I don't care if you're a single parent or you're a married parent. Assign chores to your kids. We can do a whole show about what kids take their assignments. Go ahead. What are you going to say, Chris?
I was going to say, I was listening. This is several years ago. And one of the things that this person was talking about, they said, one of the ways that we ruin our children is by paying them for chores. He said, you can pay them for other things, like if you're in business and you want them to package some things that has something to do with your business, but the daily routines of the household, making their bed. Why are you paying them for making up their bed, taking out the garbage? Why are you paying your children for taking out the garbage, putting groceries up? He was just saying that, there are some things that you live in this house, so that's why you're doing it. I'm not going to pay you to do what you need to do as a person that lives in this house. So I think that is so important when you said assign chores, and you're not getting paid for those chores.
Right.
You're paid for reading books. You're paid for reading books. Gloria, I was going to say one thing is, I wonder how, I don't know any stats on this, but I wonder how different it is for only children that get divorced versus siblings in the house. Being an only child, I think I heard a lot of stuff. I think only children hear more sometimes.
And you don't have nobody else to talk to, and you don't have anybody else to keep you occupied. Oh, we can go on and on and on about this one, you guys, but it's our time to go. It's our time to go. I did want to say Crisette's statement about don't pay for chores. I used to make my kids pay me if they left the lights on. You leave the light on, you give me a quarter. You leave the light on, you give me a quarter. And I mean, there's a lot of different ways to look at chores. There's a lot of different ways. But you know what? We all got issues. That is why we are here talking today on 910 AM, the Superstation. We'll see you tomorrow because we're here Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with the Force of Friendship. Follow us on our social media because we want to connect with you. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.